During Resident Evil 4 Remake's Separate Ways, there is a scene where Wesker appears to be extracting a sample of Ada's blood. Now, some people have said that he's not taking a sample of Ada's blood, but rather injecting himself with the serum that he injects himself in Resident Evil 5 to stabilize his power, and that very well could be the case, but I kind of feel like he extracted a sample of her blood because he finds her passed out, and Wesker is smart enough to put two and two together and assume that she must have gotten infected, and that's why she passed out, so he would obviously want to get a sample of her blood to analyze it and see if there's anything he could find from it useful, especially considering the plaga that she was infected with is a bit different than the standard plaga that Leon and Ashley get infected with, and it's also different from a dominant plaga, so it could be useful for him. And so I think that's what happened. I think he took a sample of her blood and he's going to analyze it. The thing that I'm really interested in though is once he's through analyzing it and he gets everything he needs from it, could he potentially sell it to Simmons? And that launches us into the events of Resident Evil 6 where, as we all know, Simmons ends up creating an Ada Wong clone. And the way he does that is he takes Carla Radamez, uses her as a host, infects her with the C virus and with Ada's DNA, and that ends up birthing an Ada Wong clone. So could that blood sample be the DNA that Simmons uses to make the Ada Wong clone? I think it very well could be, and it would connect the games more so and everything like that, and that's one of the big things that these remakes are doing is they're connecting everything more closely. And so I think this blood sample going to Simmons at some point could very well happen. And I think that'd be a very fascinating direction to take things. Another thing that I think is going to end up happening is I do think Resident Evil 6 is going to get a remake, mainly because the way Leon and Ada's characters function in the remake version of things is vastly different than in the original version of things. And so the narrative doesn't fit anymore with the original Resident Evil 6. They have to remake it to fit 2 and 4 remakes. And so that's why I think it's going to eventually get a remake right there. And when it does happen, I think a big plot point is going to be Ada Wong is going to try and have a redemption arc. And my thoughts on why I believe that is at the end of Resident Evil 4, you can see that Ada is visibly disappointed whenever Leon will not join her to escape the island because he lacks trust in who Ada is. And so he would rather just go their separate ways, and that's what he ends up doing. And Ada is visibly disappointed to hear this. And then furthermore, because Leon's character has had a huge impact on who Ada is becoming. And you can clearly see this whenever she escapes and communicates with Wesker. She asks him what he plans to do with the Amber. Like, what's his whole plan? I guarantee you that is probably the first time she's ever asked that question. Before that, she's probably always just picked up the sample and then dropped it off without ever even thinking about it because she didn't care. But Leon has had such a massive impact on her character that she thought to ask this time. And when she received the answer that billions of casualties are going to be a result of this, she ended up deciding that she has to betray Wesker. She has to change course and go somewhere else. She can't give him the Amber. And she did not only betray Wesker in that moment, but she's also betraying her past lifestyle of being a mercenary spy. Like, she also begins the arc of betraying that lifestyle. And so that's why I think Resident Evil 6 Remake is going to sort of be like a redemption arc for her character, where she wants to try and redeem herself as an individual and stop working with the people like Wesker. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. And she's going to try and to seek the trust of people like Leon, someone that at the beginning of Raccoon City, she had Leon's trust. But just like Raccoon City was destroyed, so too was Leon's trust towards Ada. And so I think a big plot point for a Resident Evil 6 remake is going to be Ada trying to redeem herself and regain the trust of Leon. But just like I was saying before, the whole Simmons creating Carla into an Ada clone is going to be very problematic for Ada's redemption because Carla does a lot of messed up stuff in the name of Ada Wong. And so that's going to really be a problem for Ada if she tries to redeem herself, because people like Leon are going to see what Carla's doing and think it's Ada and be like, I can't trust you because you're the head of Neo Umbrella and you're spreading the C virus and doing all these terrible things. I've completely lost trust in you now. And so Ada is going to have to deal with that. And it's going to be very interesting because it's basically going to be this new version of Ada that is developing into a different version. She's no longer wanting to work with these organizations or people like Wesker, and she's trying to redeem herself. And now she's going up against her past self in the form of Carla Radamez. And I think that's going to be a really cool thing to see. Another thing that I think a Resident Evil 6 remake is going to do is, unlike in the original Resident Evil 6 where Ada just kills Carla and then destroys all the evidence, I think she's actually going to expose who Carla is in order to clear her actual name so that she can start that redemption. I think she's going to expose Carla so that people like Leon and Chris and the whole world in general knows who Carla was, that she's the one who was doing all of these things and not Ada herself. So I think that's something that's also going to change, and through that, Leon will begin to develop a little more trust towards Ada because he'll see the truth that it was actually Carla who did all those things. And then he'll see that Ada left him a helicopter to escape the city, and that she also left him the file exposing Simmons, clearing Leon's name. And so all these things will start to help Leon regain that trust that he once had towards Ada. And I think there'll be a similar ending where Helena will basically throw Leon the makeup case and say, for the next time you see her, hinting at the fact that he is in fact starting to develop that trust towards Ada once more. And so I kind of feel like that's the direction in which things may be going. But I think it's going to be a really cool thing to see. What are your thoughts on all of this? Do you think Wesker took a sample of Ada's blood? Do you think that could somehow tie into a potential Resident Evil 6 remake? And do you also agree with my thoughts that Ada could be going towards a redemption arc where she wants to sort of start new and move away from the mercenary lifestyle? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video here, and I shall see you all on the next one. See you then.